Hello and you're very welcome to BBC Newsline. The Culture Minister Edwin Poots has told the Assembly he doesn't intend to introduce Irish language legislation at the moment. Mr Poots said he remained unpersuaded despite his own department's consultation, which showed a majority of 65% in favour of some form of legislation. Well, our political editor Mark Devonport joins us live from our Stormont studio. What exactly did the Minister have to say then, Mark?
Well, Sarah, he did give those figures on the consultation, but as you say, he doesn't think at this point that the case for Irish language legislation, which was a promise the British government made to Sinn Féin in the St Andrews Agreement, has been made. He said that the cost was excessive. He reckons it would cost the civil service more than £290 million over the next 10 years. And he also thinks, so far as the communities here are concerned, this will be a divisive move.
Advancing this proposed legislation, which is unlikely to command sufficient consensus within the community at this time, has the potential of damaging good relations, increasing polarisation and entrenching patterns of antipathy and suspicions.
Presumably, Mark, the Minister's words there have incensed some nationalists and Republicans.
Very much so. Certainly both the SDLP and Sinn Féin were very critical of him. The Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams said that his figures on the costings were spurious, and he hinted that one way or another there would be an Irish Language Act. That was basically a hint that Sinn Féin might try to get the British government to use Westminster to override the Assembly, which seems at the moment like a bit of a long shot. Gerry Adams' colleague, Barry McElduff, who is the Culture Committee chairman, was scathing about the Minister.
I want to say that this morning's announcement by the Minister constitutes a mistake, a retrograde step, and sends a very negative signal to the growing Irish language community in the north of Ireland.
Well, the other big story of the day at Stormont is the decision by the Culture Minister Edwin Poots. He confirmed an exclusive story to our political editor, Ken Reid. He brought us that here in UTV Live earlier this month, that the Irish Language Act is to be scrapped.
The Irish language was always destined to be a contentious issue. Culture Minister Edwin Poots confirming he saw no need for an Irish Language Act. He said such a law could cost £290 million over the next 10 years.
I remain unpersuaded that there is a compelling case for progressing legislation at this time. There is, in my view, insufficient community consensus, potentially significant costs, and a real possibility that legislation could undermine good relations and, in so doing, prove counterproductive to those wishing to see the language developed in a non-politicised and inclusive manner.
Understandably, Ulster Unionists were pleased.
Unionists will remain solid on this issue, just as Republicans and Nationalists did last week. There is no chance that Gerry Adams will ever see an Irish Language Act adopted here in this House in his time.
Outside the chamber, Republicans and Nationalists were frustrated with today's decision.
I'm not surprised by the Minister's remarks this morning. It would have been a wonderful surprise if he had in fact brought forward an Irish Language Act. But he clearly had set his face against that. And it's my very firm view that there will be an Irish Language Act. There's always been a question of when that would happen.
Brilliant opportunity for a DUP minister to reach out to the nationalist community, to show generosity to the nationalist community, and indeed the whole community on this issue. He has failed to grasp that opportunity, and I regret that very much.
The Culture Minister Edwin Poots didn't just upset MLAs, he's upset the whole Irish language lobby with his refusal to bring in a new law to promote the language. He says it would be too expensive and divisive. Here's our political correspondent, Gareth Gordon.
Irish is these men's language of choice. Like many other speakers, they thought they'd won the fight for an Irish Language Act through the St Andrews Agreement. But this morning, that dream ran into a DUP brick wall.
There is, in my view, insufficient community consensus, potentially significant costs, and a real possibility that legislation could undermine good relations and, in so doing, prove counterproductive to those wishing to see the language developed in a non-politicised and inclusive manner.
A clear majority of those who responded to his department's consultation said they wanted an Irish Language Act, but the Minister said it would cost the civil service alone almost £300 million over 10 years, figures Sinn Féin hotly dispute.
This morning's announcement by the Minister constitutes a mistake, a retrograde step, and sends a very negative signal to the growing Irish language community in the north of Ireland.
Sinn Féin is now likely to remonstrate with the government, but given that the Irish language is a devolved matter, it's unclear whether Westminster would be willing or indeed able to intervene.
Will he now advise the British government of his abdication and ask that the matter should be dealt with at Westminster?
But Mr Poots says Westminster hasn't got the power to act.
The individual opposite, Mr Speaker, may want Brits in. For years some of them were shouting Brits out, but now they want the Brits in to do this particular decision.
The Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams told the Minister there would be an Irish Language Act one way or the other. Unionists disagreed.
There is no chance that Gerry Adams will ever see an Irish Language Act adopted here in this House in his time.
At this Irish Language Cultural Centre in West Belfast, there was predictably outrage.
It's another retrograde step in the long history of kind of discrimination and persecution that the Irish language community have had to deal with here.
It is clear that the Irish language community were seeking a rights-based act, and Minister Poots has let us down.
I think it's a sad day for the north of Ireland. I think it's a sad day for community understanding. I think it's a sad day, obviously, for the Irish language community.
It's an argument that's bound to continue in both languages. Gareth Gordon, BBC Newsline.
Well, Mark, still with us up at Stormont. A much more predictable ride, this one, I suppose.
Yes, I mean, we knew this was going to happen. The DUP had always made their opposition clear. It always seemed unlikely the Minister would take this ahead. So, in a way, a bit more of a ritualistic row. I actually think the one that happened in the afternoon about the UDA was much more bitter and personal, even though it doesn't involve the two big parties. I think it may lead to bigger ramifications within the Executive when it meets on Thursday.
Mark, thank you very much indeed.
Tá mí hostacht locht gailgan túisgurt agus folatóirí náisiúna chuin sin, maidir le fúgara an a cultúr Edwin Poots ón DUP, nach dúrthar 8 gailge seacha dúisgurtéiran. Dúirt an méidse cé gur 65 fan géad go aonachtaí sa dara froiséis cúrlúcháin an 8 I bhábhar na reachtaíochta ag gealú faoi chóin tú chiad rihín. Tá tuile faoin scéal ag anaí ní ghalachud.
I remain unpersuaded that there is a compelling case for bringing forward Irish language legislation.
A chuid cúisina nó nachfuil cóin tú tras bobal ar cheisna Gaeilge, go bhfuil se ráthasta sa 200 milliún harsléib sé déimiana a dúirte a figir a dúirt náisiúnaithe na róbánas leis. Agus dúirt Edwin Poots chomhaithniu gníonú acht dochar an Gaeilge sicran filitíart a bheith ráhharna an.
Mal agla an Ira Rudman Changa.
Shen Rudda Tuggin knew that Leiscel and Ye Leiscel.
Their dream is falling round their feet and they better face up to it now.
Our cancha seo a ida has níos teasaí nar a bheith atú peiú ar a cheist ba chuine disparar sa omlan.
Sílan go raibh rinchhaith den a leiscealtaí a tugadhainniu cólog sin is go muinne siad gaiire asad ar a drochar tar an taíonnta daidéire.
Ní líon ré agin ach dul arás ag an dá réaltas agus an dúilgus a chur orthu siúd an acht a chur fáil. So anan sin is a rá go mé acht Gaeilge agin agus go mé ar an réaltas ag Westminster é chur a bhain.
Our mágaí a dúirt aontacht taíonn seo hainniu go bhfuil daoine a chaithe síl ag rá Brits out a neisig tuairt an lei a réaltas na Sasna chun an cheise a chacrú. A has léir go dtíon politarí náisiúnathe an seo na bontáistí. Mar dainú an tactar achú as Westminster, ní bhhain go mite a muchas láhain an léontachta an seo, a tá níthe eile cos leis na man chomarsaide agus cursaí dlí go fáil a réalú as Westminster, agus tá bhrí sin, déitaite go mhaithid do maith ach níos gleidir a fós hallan sin a chlúdatha níos mó réimsí. Aní ní galathar nuair TG4 ag Stormont.
Agus a clé leis an scéala sin I ráitis I deise príomhhaimneach oras na Gaeilge tróna dúirte gur cúismhór díma gan agriocht cinenne an Aire Poots. Dúirt Ferdia McAnally gur raibh sé an ámanis a chur na lair na húdaráis sa túisgurt gur a takeíocht gan acht meas gan phobal agus gur lehéide go acht tiltte ag an bobal ó thua.